Good day traders, welcome to this week's Market Fix. My name is John Jacobs for RMDTRADER and look forward to presenting to you another week of price predictions and chart analysis of all your favorite market instruments. We start with a quick look as always with our disclaimer before we will be jumping right in. This week we will be revisiting the two major ideas that we put out last week, as well as looking at how a strengthening US dollar seems to be affecting the general market. We're going to start this week by looking at silver and the potential bullish move that we mentioned on our video last week, especially considering that the possible rejection on the daily from the 100 moving average as well as a close below the daily 200 moving average. At this stage we are still trading above support, and that we can see from our diagonal support level that defines the lower end of that symmetrical triangle as well as the lower end of that previous support range. The danger here is that if we were to lose this level at about 25.50 especially, that could mean and signify a potential break to the downside of this symmetrical triangle with an initial move towards support at 24.95, and if that level were to fail, we will see a much larger move to the downside in silver. In terms of a recovery, we would need to see a move back above 26.35. That's where we will retest the daily 100 SMA, and from there we would expect a move towards resistance at the monthly pivot at 26.77, and from there we can expect a move to the upside towards the top of that diagonal symmetrical triangle resistance. Moving on now to our cryptocurrencies, just having a look at Bitcoin. Just like to enable that 365 moving average. So with Bitcoin, we also see price trading right on very crucial support. That support currently being the dynamic 365 simple moving average on the daily. That was also an area that we've previously seen the buyers stepping in and driving price higher. If you can remain above this 30,100 level, that is our weekly S1, there's a good chance that we will see price continue to range between that and about 35,000. Of course, should we see price break above that level, which is also defined by our 40 SMA, we can expect a move to the upper end of that boundary towards our yearly R1 at 37,300. And only with a break above that will we see a move to the even higher end of that range at 41,000. In terms of a break below support at 30,100, I still suspect it will be a very high probability chance that we will then see price move towards support at our yearly pivot level, which can be found at 20,700. Having a look at Ethereum, we will see a similar picture with that ominous head and shoulders still hanging and looming over price, with price trading below the daily 200 SMA, currently trading below the new weekly pivot, which is at 2,000, also a very big and important psychological level. In terms of a recovery here, we would expect price to move above 2,000 and initially maybe retest that area of our weekly R1 and that head and shoulders neckline at about 2,140 to perhaps 2,150. In terms of a bearish break, that could happen with a move below 1,800, with price then retreating and perhaps looking for some support initially, at least from that 365 daily SMA at about 1,400. And we will now continue to our gold analysis. I'm just going to remove that 365 moving average. Looking at gold, we can see that we have also seen, similar to what we saw in silver, a very bearish candle on the daily time frame, currently testing support now from our monthly and weekly pivot levels, which is quite a strong level of support. That's all sitting at 1,800. A break below that and moving lower, we'll likely see a move towards the daily 100 SMA and the weekly S1 pivot at 1,790. And of course, should we see a recovery, we would need to take out that daily 200 moving average, currently residing between 1,825 and 1,850, and from there I would then expect another move higher towards our monthly R1 pivot level, somewhere currently sitting in the vicinity of 1,875. Moving on now to our indices, we can have a look at DAX. DAX has rejected once again our yearly R1 pivot at 15,700, moving now back towards lower end of that new consolidation range, currently sitting at 15,460. And of course, should price break below that, we will see a breach of that range, with price then probably retreating back to diagonal support afforded by our daily 100 SMA, currently at 15,240 to 15,250. In terms of a bounce, if we were to see a bounce from this level, we can expect price to move back to the top end of support, the top end of that range, and that's most likely back to that yearly R1 at 15,700. With a break of that or a close at least above that level, then likely seeing new all-time highs, moving towards the area of our monthly R2 pivot at 16 to about 16,050. Moving now to our Dow. The Dow currently also facing very strong resistance from that yearly R1 pivot. That's at 34,750. That has now been rejected with a close below it. We are still above the 40 and the 100 daily SMAs, meaning that overall trend is still up. However, at this stage, if we do not find support from that 34,600 level, I would also expect a move lower towards the daily 100 SMA, where we've previously found some support and buyers stepping in, that being in the vicinity of 34,000 to 34,050. Looking now at the Nasdaq, we have previously put out a warning for you guys to say that we do expect this area to be quite an extreme level of price action, with the yearly R1 at 15,000, that psychological level being a very strong level of resistance. We can see that price has now been rejected, and it also now violated that bullish channel that price has been trending in. A close below that, currently seeing price likely moving towards support at the weekly S1 at 14,570. A break below that will see a deeper correction towards that level of support from our monthly pivot, and at weekly S3 at 14,250 as our penultimate bearish scenario for this week. Moving now to the Forex. And looking at USDJPY, we can see that it has now pulled back towards that important support zone between 109.73 and 109.83. This is a very important level, as if price can find its footing from this level, I would expect another move higher, back above the weekly pivot, and at least towards that monthly pivot level at 110.48 or 110.5. So that would be the first area of resistance, with a breach of that level seeing another big move likely towards the upper end of our weekly pivots and our monthly R1, all residing near those highs at 111.5. In terms of a deeper pullback, we can see that we have our daily 100 SMA, also probably coinciding with that weekly S1 at 109.59, so that would as well act as support should price move into that level. Looking at the GBPNZD, we've previously identified a very large inverted head and shoulders pattern. Currently, price does seem to have rejected the yearly pivot at 1.978, although we are still trading above support, and overall the trend does appear to be bullish, as we can see price, just looking at the MAs, we can see we have the 40 above the 100 and the 100 above the 200, and price still trading above the 100 daily moving average. So in terms of support and dynamic support, we do have support in this zone, especially from that daily 100 SMA, currently at 1.956 rather. And should price find support on this level, I would expect another attempt at that yearly pivot, with a breach of that yearly pivot likely seeing that very big bullish move starting to play out. In terms of a failure of this pattern, we would need to see a break below at 1.956, with price moving down towards the lower end of that right inverted shoulder at 1.924, and only with a only with a loss of this level would really invalidate that pattern. Looking at the GBPUSD, and also considering the fact that it does seem that the US dollar is finding and getting some strength here, I suspect we could see a move lower towards support at the daily 200 SMA, rather at the weekly S1, currently residing at 1.370. This could be some kind of complex head and shoulders pattern with a loss of that level, seeing price moving lower down, initially finding support at our monthly S2 at 1.348. However, if it does find some support from this level, resistance will be from the daily 100 SMA and the upper end of that range, currently at 1.3912. Looking at the EURUSD, we see a similar picture with that inverted head and shoulders having been invalidated with a breach below that right shoulder, meaning we are looking at a failed head and shoulders target somewhere in the vicinity of 1.151. It will probably take a few weeks for that to fully play out, but at this stage we can see that we are in a bearish trend here with very little in terms of support, although first support that we do have currently is that weekly S1 pivot at 1.176. With a loss of that level, likely seeing more pivot levels being tested. Next up in line would be that previous head coinciding with the monthly S1 at 1.171. And in terms of recovery, we would need to see a close above 1.187. Finally, concluding by looking at the USD to South African Rand, we have an inverted head and shoulders on this Forex pair with a very nice breakout, and currently we are seeing a retest of that neckline. And that daily 100 SMA is also coinciding and also acting as support on that neckline. So if we do see a bounce from this level, and especially with a move over above the weekly pivot, I expect we will see another move higher towards the monthly R1 at 1462, followed by a move towards the daily 200 SMA at about 1485, and from there we can probably expect a new trend to start emerging. In terms of invalidation of this pattern, we would need a close below the 1427 level, which is currently support, and that will see a move towards support, a major support, and the 10-year diagonal support line at 14. That's a wrap. We hope you enjoyed this week's video. Please remember to support our channel by subscribing, and until next time, remember, trade smart and trade successful.